Good. No, not good. You were right. I did not understand the situation. Now I know Brothers of Light. I think it is very important to continue with trial. Yay! Well done, Runo. Balance is shifting. Well, it's a start, I suppose. But there must be more in what these jurors are saying that I can use to expose the truth. And if I can do that, we might have to turn the situation in our favor still. Thank you, Counsel. Continue with the summation examination. And kindly hand that new photographic print to the bailiff to be filed as evidence. Another print in the court record. I wonder if we can make use of that. In the lake of lies are many dead fish. We must find truth. Therefore I say not guilty verdict. Mind made up. Stop. Blah, 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 blah. Alright, let's... Sorry, radio transmission. What do you mean? Are you from the Far East? Stop. Yes, from the Empire of Japan. All communication with Far Eastern nations used to take place by mail. Royal Mail steamers take more than a month to complete the journey. Ah, but now we have the electric telegram, so we can send messages using electrical signals. Thousands of miles of cables have been laid along ocean beds connecting the entire world. Thousands of miles of cable? On the ocean bed? It makes my head hurt just thinking about it. For all we know, they might still be there. You're well informed, young lady. The cables will soon become a thing of the past. Stop. And just when I was starting to catch up. Radio transmission in the future. Stop. Messages carried by over airwaves to four corners of the globe. Stop. Excitement growing. Stop. Atmosphere electric. Stop. Right. Try not to wear out your fingers. Era of wireless telegraphy. Stop. Driving technological revolution. Stop. And people say inventions like the stereoscope are the height of technology. What utter piffle. I can't understand it. I really can't. They're just silly toys. Oh, you got into somebody's bad side.
Excuse me.
Juror number 3. Sorry to interrupt when you're obviously fuming, but... What? You perhaps have something to say about juror number 5's last remark? As if I couldn't guess. Oh, you bet I do. Say that again. Go on. I dare you. I double dog dare you. Goodness, are you talking to me? I think he just might be, yes. You think stereoscopes are just toys, do you, eh? Absolutely. I mean, really. A machine to view photographs in 3 dimensions. Why on earth would you not just use your eyes to look at the round around you? It's all 3-dimensional. What a great way to appease the man. No, I'm sorry. Stereoscopes are of no practical use at all. You just don't know. Pardon? I think you'll find that viewing a photograph through a stereoscope can unlock all sorts of possibilities. Duh, I'm obviously going to have to demonstrate. What sort of possibilities? Well, take a crime scene, for example. If you had a pair of photographs from a crime scene that you could view through a stereoscope, it'd reveal hidden clues you'd never even noticed before. What? Have you got any, Runo? Any prints we could look at with a stereoscope? Yeah, we actually do. And Kid is outside barking. One stereoscope. Back.
Take that!
Alright then, juror number 3. Are you saying you can do this with any 2 surmountable photographic prints? course I can. Very well then, I'd like you to demonstrate. I'd be delighted to. Just give me one more print and I'll amaze you all.
Take that!
Alright, these two prints were both taken with the same camera and window banks on the night in question. Yes, I see. Tell me, Mr. Lawyer. Do you know how stereographic images work? Do you understand the principle? I think so. I did have a lesson only yesterday. The left and right eye images need to be the same, only with a slight shift in positions of some objects. Then when your brain merges the two images together inside your head, it notices the shift as if it were depth. Yes, exactly. It's a small shift between certain objects in the two pictures that's really important. So what happens if you use the two photographic prints that are exactly the same then? No, obviously that wouldn't work at all. Not for seeing the scene three-dimensionally anyway. Oh, of course, now I see. I think the young girl has discovered the secret. I have. Duh. Can you uncross your eyes before you tell me? Have another look at these two pictures from Hurley's camera, Runo. Go on. I still can't cross my eyes. There are two people in the first, and no people in the second. Well, yes, you can see that straight away, but now, try looking at the picture in 3 dimensions. Alright, I'll give it a go. Start with, cross your eyes, and try to make the two pictures overlap exactly. I can't do that. Wait. Well, did you manage to see it properly, Renault? No, I can't do it. I'm just not very good at this. That's the trouble. Don't worry, I have just the thing. Happened to bring with me a portable stereoscope. I know I mentioned this yesterday, but if you had that contraption with you from the outset, you could have saved me starting at Mr. Winterbank and Gina. Like I hate them all the time. And if you remember, I said in reply that it's much more satisfying to be able to see the effect with your own eyes. Not if you can't frickin' cross your eyes. Anyway, why don't we try using this helpful aid now? Here it goes. Huh! Something was touched. Wait, look at that. Hey! What's going on with these two pictures? Some of the things on the counter sort, they sort of jump out at you. Well, I guess I'm not the only one who can't cross his eyes. Van Zeeks can't as well. If only I could see that the one with the judge crossing his eyes. Yes, that's it! You see! That's the other amazing power of stereoscopes. Other amazing power? Is someone going to explain this black magic, eh? Why do some of the things on the counter seem to jump out like you like that, I think you'll find that if you consider the basic principle of the stereoscope, you'll answer your own question. Basic principles of the stereoscope. As I said before, if you try to look at two identical pictures using a stereoscope, it won't work at all. It's the slight shift of the positions of certain objects that lets you see pictures three-dimensionally. In other words, even though at first glance... Oh, now I see it a little bit, yes. This shows that actually there must have been a slight shift in their positions. Yes, there must have been. Now hold fire there, sir. Got a reasonable grasp of this whole cross-eyed business now, I'd say. But why the devil did this shift between the two prints exist in the first place? Well, what's the answer, fellow? Come on, you're the cross-eyed master. Me? I haven't the first idea. You know, Runo, it's quite simple. Just think of it through step by step. The first photograph was taken at 1 a.m. Then 30 minutes later, the second photograph was taken. The position of some items on the counter appear to have shifted slightly in the interim. So that means, sometime in a half-hour interval, someone must have tampered with the things on the counter. Zookers! Someone tampered! New information, stop. Not mentioned in testimony so far. Stop! Yes. We've had to go around in circles a little here, it seems. I'm starting to see what I should be aiming at in this summation examination now. Ladies and gentlemen, the question now is clear. We know the items on the countertop were moved, but by whom? Are you suggesting you might know? Of course. I can tell you right now who is responsible for the almost imperceptible shifts on the items in the counter. It was a witness is currently in the stand, the Skulkin brothers. Wait, this does not agree with what brothers said in testimony before. They said they did not even have time to pull dukes from Lucy lockets. My phrasebook says duke meaning hands and Lucy lockets meaning pockets. That must be some kind of rhyming slang. Heard about it from the Discworld novels. Don't know much about it though. But this is another lie. Stop squeezing the mouse. Is this what you are saying? Yes, I'm afraid so. Yeah, hold on there a minute. You can't be sure of that. I quite agree. The accused is a common pickpost after all. It's perfectly possible she went through the things on the desk to see what she might steal. I think that's unlikely. And why exactly? As you can see from this photographic print, the defendant was pointing a gun at the victim. It would seem as though my learned friend indicated that she was coercing Mr. Windibank to open the storeroom door. In other words, Miss Lestrade's interests lay within the storeroom, not the main shop, giving her no reason to touch anything on the counter. All of which points to one thing. The Skulkin brothers have omitted key facts in their testimony. But the accused is a pickpurse, common gutter trash. Why look any further for the wrongdoers here? Because the Skulkin brothers are thieves, madam. No better. In fact, worse than a pickpurse. I believe these brothers were looking for something on the victim's counter that night. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if you would condemn the defendant on the ground she's a pickpocket, would it not at least be right and proper to thoroughly scrutinize testimony given against her by two thieves? Well said. I, for one, would like to hear more from that shady pair. That's using your head. I know you're a doctor, but come on. Can you all see now? I think you'll find stereoscopes on playthings. You've seen their extraordinary potential firsthand. Wholeheartedly agree, stop. Mass purchase after trial, stop. Will return home via Regent Street, stop. Well, it would seem this trial is yet to run its course. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury have declared their inclinations via the mighty scales of justice. I hereby call the summation examination to its conclusion with a balance altered in the defendant's favor. 2 lean to guilty, 4 lean to not guilty. Accordingly, the jury is without consensus. And I order this trial to continue. Yay, well done. Oh, by the way. What? You should hold on to this, Runo. You never know when it might come in useful. Twice in one trial would be unusual, surely. But alright. Don't jinx it. Lord Van Zeeks. You will instruct the witnesses that the court demands additional testimony from them. I'm sure it won't spoil the bouquet to do so, my lord. Alright. Part 1's over. Round 2. Ding, ding, ding. Rock and roll. Order, please. Let us resume proceedings. Witnesses, you will now retake the stand. They're busted and they know it. I presume you heard the defense counsel's summation examination. Oh, yeah, Governor. I did, Gov. I did. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. God, blimey! This is gonna be hard work. Earlier in this trial, you gave the following testimony about your actions after you entered Windibanks. Well, it was Bedlam soon as, weren't it? It was, Nash. It was. Didn't even have time to pull me dukes out of me Lucy lockets. However, that was a lie. You brothers. God blimey! On the night of the question, you rifled through the items on the victim's counter. We never done nothing of the sort. How you figure that out? You will now give formal testimony once again. You? Excuse me. Tell the court... Excuse me. Precisely what happened in the night in question. And this time, you will tell the truth. Each lie that passes your lips serves to increase the severity of your punishment. And that, gentlemen, may deal a crushing blow to your chances of ever seeing the light of day again. As thought worth pondering, perhaps. Send a little go, we hear ya, we'll blab, we'll squeak, we'll peach. Excuse me. Oh, God. Get off there. Alright, we did knock a few things over. We weren't rifling for nothing. It was when we had a gunshot, you see. Made us both jump and all that stuff went flying. Lummy, it didn't have to give me a fright. We were thinking the shooter'd come out the door and get us next. We stuck everything back where we found it and scarpered. Straight into him in the black. I couldn't have shot the pawnbroker C. We never even had a chance, did we? So you admit to the defense's accusation. You did indeed ransack Mr. Windibank's countertop at the night in question. Not ransack, Governor, no. Oh, that's right, Nash, that's right. It's more like we tidied up, yeah. Sorry. By their own admission, these brothers entered the pawnbrokery under dubious circumstances. However, they panicked and fled on hearing the gunshot, having first made good their mess. The way you say it, we hardly sound like roughs at all. We don't, Nash. We don't. Can he make us sound a bit more cutthroat? It can't just be coincident these men showed up at Windibanks last night. There's more to their testimony than meets the eye. I'm sure of it. Alrighty, let's go. Alright, blah blah blah. Okay then.
Hold it!
So what you're saying is, the sound of the gunshot shocked you so much you knocked all those things off the counter. That shocked one of us that much, yeah. This bag of nerves needs to learn to keep his shirt on. And I was shirt, not the other word. Look, it was loud alright, blimey. Me dead granny would have woken up that bang. Big brother screamed like a bloomin' baby and fell over the counter. He knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot. I got tangled in some marionette what knocked over a picture frame what knocked them scales on the floor. You really mastered working quietly then. What a racket! My granny would have been scared back into a grave like a cloud like that. So in short, the gunshot took you by surprise. And then some. I mean, it was quarters of mouse and then all of a sudden, BAM! Oh?
Excuse me.
Inspector Gregson, you have something to add. Like I keep saying, I don't appreciate being lumped with them scoundrels. No, something to add about their testimony. You seemed to react just now when Mr. Skulkin said. Did it make you think of something? It's probably nothing, of course. I wouldn't even bother to mention it, only... Well, the fact is, cases don't get solved if you ignore the little details. How about you just tell us what's on your mind? As you know, we brought these fellas into the yard for questioning last night. And the statement they gave then told a slightly different story to what they're saying now. Hey! Did he? You claimed you heard the victim shout something out before the gunshot. Might have, Gav. Might have. Does ring a bell now you mention it. Granted, it's only a minor detail, but still. I can't help feeling, perhaps, you've been a bit sloppy with your testimony here, eh, fellas? If I discover the witness's testimony has been any more sloppy than it has been hitherto proven to be, I shall be forced to bring the very harshest punishment to bear against them. Easy, easy! I'll get it right this time. Hey, see, yeah, he's all coming back to me now. Then speak. Supplement your testimony with whatever details have miraculously returned to your questionable minds. Sirs. Right you are, Gov. Just before the gunshot, we had a voice yelling out, "Give me that gun!" Alrighty. The bloke who were on the place was holding a gun, so we could have just fired instead of yelling at the girl. I don't think so. Alright, picture of the crime scene. Blah, 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 blah.
Objection.
So, you're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windibank, was wielding a gun. Is that correct? Oh, that's it, Gov. You got the picture. Yes, Nash, yes. No question. And yet, photographic evidence obtained immediately after the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windibank was not holding a firearm of any description. You what? Gordon Bennett, that ain't right.
Objection.
There can be no question the victim's revolver was used in the incident. I would remind the court that Mr. Windibank's gun was found at the scene. Not only was it identified as the murder weapon, but it was found in the accused's hand. Yeah, that old Tula used the victim's own gun to finish him off. Give me that gun! Bang! Kind of thing.
Hold it.
Say exactly where you are. Right there. If the crime had taken place as you so colorfully described in your testimony, it would give rise to an undeniable and significant inconsistency in the final moment you just acted out. Goodness! Are you sure, counsel? You intrigue me, my learned friend, but let's see some evidence to support your claim. Where's the proof that demonstrates this inconsistency? That is the autopsy report. According to the testimony, the witnesses claim to have heard a shout of "Gimme that gun," followed by the gunshot. Indeed, with the two events happening almost simultaneously, or so we've been led to believe. Yes, that's right. Now, if that testimony is true, it would mean that the moment of death, the victim and his attacker would have been facing each other. However, in the autopsy report it clearly states, but the victim died instantly after being shot from behind. So, as I stated before, there is an undeniable inconsistency with your testimony, Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. But, it's the God's honest truth. It is, Nash, it is. But we were shot that night. The shopkeeper had a gun in his hand. We saw it with our own bleeding eyes. Did I hear you right just now? You actually saw Mr. Windibank holding a gun. Somewhat like that might have slipped out. You... Ladies and gentlemen, you have all just heard the admission by these two witnesses that on the night in question they actually saw, with their own eyes, the victim wielding a gun. Which can only mean that despite their testimony to the contrary, the Skulkin brothers must have encountered the victim in person. Nash, Hey! Order! Witnesses, explain yourselves at once. Well, the thing is, we're supposed to, It would seem that my previous warning fell on deaf ears. I made it quite clear that false witness would be the death of you. Am I to understand you replaced the untruths of your original testimony with renewed lies? Ever so sorry, Governor. Truth is, cut it out, Nash, cut it out. We blood now. You know what he'll do to us. He? Who are they talking about? Let me make your position here perfectly clear. You will talk. There is no other option available to you. Bruv, come on, the game's up. But you'll have a guts for garters. In case it hasn't quite sunk in yet, no matter how hard you try to hide it, the truth will come out. On the night in question, it is now apparent you brothers met face to face with the victim. I demand you testify again to explain the precise circumstances under which this meeting took place. Well, do we have to? On pain of death, I suggest you make yourselves fully aware this is your last chance to tell the truth. Oh, we got him by the short and curlies. Alright, so we just got inside the gaff and needed a sigh of relief when the geezer showed his mug. Give me that gun, he bellowed, and he flew at us like we was possessed. I thought we'd had it. But no geezer, that bloke was strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter. I pulled me gun on him, and he legged it through that door in the back room. He never had nothing to do with killing him. That's all what happened, I swear. So you're now telling us that moments before the victim was killed in the storeroom, you in fact encountered him in the main part of the hall shop. Well, yeah. Sorry. Well, we find ourselves at an interesting juncture. This changes matters considerably. But honest, Governor, this time, Nash, this time we ain't got nothing more to hide. We'll see about that. Counsel for the defense, you may proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. This is it. The moment I've been waiting for. Alright. Alrighty. Blah blah blah.
Hold it!
So you say you had nothing to do with it? Nothing at all. Nothing, Gov, nothing. That old geezer went and shut himself in the back room, didn't he? Locked it was, from the inside. We know it was, 'cause we tried to open it. That's a decent door, that one. Good and strong. Wouldn't budge an inch. So in the end, the situation remains unchanged. Inside the storeroom of the pawnbroker, there was only one other person. The sole person who could possibly have shot the victim, the accused, Miss Gina Lestrade. It would appear indeed so. What say you to that, Lord Counsel? Counsel, I don't know. Was there anyone else apart from Gina who could possibly have shot Mr. Windibank? Yeah, there could have been. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. Aye, what's that look for? From the moment you admitted you'd encountered the victim face to face that night, the course of this trial changed completely. It did. What is your point, my learned friend? The question we must answer is, who could have shot Mr. Windibank? And it is the belief of the defense that the defendant is not the only possible answer at all. You have my attention. In that case, let us return to this plan of the premises. The victim was killed in the storeroom, which was locked from the inside. Those are the facts. So pray, what are the possible answer of to the question of who shot the man could there be? You must now provide answer to the court in respect to the two conundrums. Two, my lord. Twice as many chances to be right, maybe. Indeed, namely, from what location did the culprit shoot the victim? And furthermore, where was the victim at the time? Understood, my lord. Are you alright right now? I'm not entirely sure, but there's only one thing I'm sure about. If I can prove that there's a credible new alternative to what happened, it would change Gina's prospects hugely. So now the time for some clarity. Show the court this plan, the answer to the question posed by his lordship. If you believe someone else could have killed the victim, indicate from where that person could have fired the gun.
Take that!
The defense believes the culprit could have shot the victim from this location here. And in answer to the second question, assuming the culprit fired from the location indicated, where was the victim at the time?
Take that!
The culprit shot the victim from outside the storeroom. Continue. Mr. Windibank died instantly from a bullet wound in his back. Looking at the stain of blood on the storeroom floor, it doesn't appear the body was moved after death, which tells us he was almost certainly shot while he was in the storeroom. However, the crucial point is, where was the shooter when the fatal bullet was fired? So you are adamant that the shot was fired from outside the storeroom? Well, according to the Skulkin brothers' earlier testimony, I pulled my gun on him, and then he legged it through that door in the back room. If Mr. Windibank ran away through the door, we have to assume that the door was open at the time. Ah! It was at precisely that moment when the victim was fleeing for his life that these brothers had the perfect opportunity to shoot the man in the back once he was inside the storeroom. Ah! Hey! Come to think of it, do you remember what the prosecutor said at the start of the trial? Moving on to the findings of Scotland Yard's coroner, his report states the bullet entered the body on a rising diagonal trajectory. It means the victim was likely shot by someone significantly shorter in height than himself. Poor man, shot while he was running as fast as he could to safety. Of course! He would have been leaning forward as he was running away. So even if the bullet was fired horizontally, it would still have entered his body on an upward trajectory. So the culprit wasn't necessarily someone shorter than Mr. Windibank.
Objection!
I'm sure my learned friend can't have forgotten that the storeroom door was found closed and locked from the inside. You claim the victim was shot as he fled into the room. Do you also claim his corpse was dexterous enough to turn the key in the lock? Hey, but, what if someone else had locked the door? Yes, there's someone else who could have locked the storeroom door. Is that so? Very well then, counsel. Present your hypothesis to the court. In the scenario just described, the defense's assertion is the victim was shot from outside the storeroom. In which case, who shut and locked the storeroom door from the inside? It has to be Gina.
Take that!
Obviously, the person who locked the door was the only other person in the storeroom at the time. The defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade.
Objection!
That's absurd! You're suggesting the accused deliberately engineered the sealed room. For what possible reason? Such actions could only serve to tighten the noose around her neck. I'm inclined to agree, I must say. Well, counsel? Yes. That's a tricky one, that, isn't it? Half-baked notions have no place in my courtroom, counsel. Remember that, please. But of course Ginny would have locked the door. It almost goes without saying, doesn't it? It does. Well, if I was Ginny in that situation, I know I would have locked the door as quickly as I could. I mean, those two burglars had just fired a gun in her direction, hadn't they? Obviously. Before the two brothers arrived, Mr. Lestrade and Mr. Windibank were in the storeroom together. Now, I don't know what went on between them at that time, but at some point, Mr. Windibank must have heard the intruders breaking into his shop and left the storeroom. Intruders, eh? That's us, bruv! If your theory is correct, that would leave the accused alone in the storeroom. Yes, it would. Then, probably only moments later, the victim fled back through the storeroom door, hoping to escape danger. Bang! Hit in the back by the bullet, Mr. Windibank fell to the floor where he was just inside the storeroom. And what we have to ask ourselves now is, what would the defendant have done in that moment? I'll see where you're going with this. Outside the storeroom was a terrifying killer who had just murdered Mr. Windibank. As soon as that thought struck Miss Lestrade, she slammed the door shut and locked it. In order to save her own life. Oh.
Hold it!
But I mean, we ain't the ones who done it. We ain't, God, we ain't. You gotta believe us. I mean, come on, we never shoot no one.
Objection!
That's blatantly untrue. I know for a fact you would. Because before my own eyes, you shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes. There is only one logical conclusion here. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin, your brothers had every opportunity to have been the true perpetrators of Mr. Windibank's murderer. Nay! Where does this leave us? You mean to say it wasn't the pickpocket who shot the pawnbroker after all? I should have known it was those three brothers. They look as shady as Death's Forest. It was amazing, Bruno. All the members of the jury seem to be firmly on your side now. First time ever, and probably the last. Well, I think you've done it. Surely they'll have to give the verdict of not. An admirable effort, my learned friend. What's this now? He's laughing. You find the situation amusing, Lord Van Zieks. I myself find the defense's argument most persuasive. I dare say, such chicanery is the bread and butter of the street performers in your provincial eastern nation. But such blatantly malicious conjuring tricks amount to nothing more than excusable pettifoggery here. What? The hypothesis you put forward so ostensibly, credibly, cannot and will not stand. Because, you see, it contains a fatal flaw. What do you want now? You're unaware of your logic's failing? I say, Lord Van Zieks, might be an idea to explain this bally conjuring trick or whatever it is to the troops on the ground, The fatal flaw in my learned friend's argument is really simple to understand. Assuming you're not too dim-witted to count bullets. By Jove, count bullets! Oh dear. You noticed then. Counsel! Yes, sir. Tell the court how many bullets were found at the scene of the crime. Two. 2 bullets. Correct. The first, that which hit the victim in the back, ending his life. And the second, that which struck the detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, and his arrival at the scene. No, there's a third one! The bullet which entered Sholmes appears to have passed through. That's not it! We know there are 2 firearms involved in the incident. Alrighty. Indeed it does, a single bullet for each. Now then, my learned friend. You yourself told the court only moments ago that these 2 brothers shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes right before your eyes. Yeah, I did. Oh my goodness, I think you'll find. And if the single bullet was fired from the brother's gun hit Mr. Sholmes, it means... Winterbank not shot by the same gun. Stop. Only 1 bullet. Stop. Exactly. Yes, this Nipponi street performer presented an ostensibly credible argument. However, it was never anything more than a diversionary trick, with no hope of standing up to scrutiny. Aye! Ah! Ow! Order! 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 Ah! Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging the dregs of my hallowed nectar in the public gallery. Oi, that got me head! Lord Van Zieks! But this court needs to open its eyes. The accused, Miss Gina Lestrade, is no ordinary little girl. Despite her young years, she can, regrettably, no longer be described as a juvenile. No, the person in the dock is far from a law-abiding citizen. She's a past riddled with criminal conduct. The truth is, the accused broke into the pawnbrokery in the night in question with loathsome intent. As we can see beyond doubt in this print, which depicts her threatening the blah blah blah. Here we go again. That disc. I'll be taking out whatever it is in McGilded's down in the yard, thank you very much. No, don't give it to him, it's mine, that is. Mine. I'm sorry, miss, but anything belonging to McGilded has to be taken as evidence now. Alrighty. I know what we're doing next. Next time, we'll figure this out.